Some of the few people who have come forth with their sighting in recent times were 3 Kelowna residents, Dale, Colleen, and Myrna.
So one of the most recent events in terms of the Ogopogo history is a photograph that was taken in October of 2022. This image surfaced on the internet and just it made the rounds, and so I found out about it, and almost instantly there was like 1,000 different theories about what it could be. That it could be a duck, that it could be a crawfish, that it was a wolf, and I didn't really know what to make of it. I wasn't really looking at it closely, I just was aware of it. But as this project started to take shape, Jason mentioned that he was in contact with the people who took the photograph. I realized that this was an opportunity to really dig deep into a specific case.
Eli and Jason's next stop during their investigation was to meet with Dale, Colleen, and Myrna to discuss the photograph and visit the rough location of where it was taken.
What were you guys doing out here on the day?
Just what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Enjoying the lake.
So it was October 15th, 2022, when we came out, but my mom had passed away the day before, and she was 96, so we were very happy that she lived that long, but I wasn't too much into coming out here. I was kind of depressed, as a person would be, and I said, universe, give me something else to think about besides my mother's death. And so we came out, and the day was the sun. Remember, Myrna, the sun was glistening on the water. It was just, and for October, it was the last sail of the year because it was warm and beautiful out here. And so then I was like very thankful that I was out here, and then all of a sudden we saw the thing in the water.
Well, we first saw two prawns kind of coming up out of the water that looked like seaweed. But it's fresh water. And where would the seaweed come from? And it was in the middle of the lake.
Yeah.
And there was something underneath it we couldn't really see because of the glare of the water. And we knew there was something there, but we didn't know what. So
it looked like a deadhead at first, which
or
is
a
a
log
log standing straight up and down in the water, but it wasn't straight like a log would normally be. And I didn't like the looks of it. I thought, well, that's a bit of a boating hazard. So we got past it a ways, and I said to the girls, oh, let's turn around and go back. And I said, Colleen, get your camera ready, because something didn't look right about that thing. Mm-hmm. It didn't bounce up and down in the water at all. It just stayed stable.
Yeah,
stable.
Super still.
So we got within about 12 feet of it, and she took that picture. And we were just kept right on going, because the speed we're going right now, this is our getaway speed.
Yeah.
Because it was a very similar wind, same direction the day that we got the picture.
So I got up, I stood up there and kind of leaned over the bow and took one picture, which I kind of regret having only taken one, but it was the way it was. I took one picture, but while we were very slowly moving past it, I could clearly see the rest of it under the water. Like, it was one thing to see what was sticking up out of the water, but I saw what would appear to be its body or a neck, or the rest of it under the water, under the darkness of the water. And then, so I took the picture, and then we just kind of kept on going, right?
Yeah, well, I think we were all a little bit shocked at what we saw.
Yeah.
Basically, because we couldn't figure out what the heck it was.
I think what shocked me the most was how big they described it.
How big was it?
The head was,
all of that.
In that picture, what would be horns or nodules,
About that far
they're
apart.
at least that far apart.
And they were sticking out of the water about, say, 3 or 4 inches. You could clearly see it was like, it looked like horns, or horns and ears. To me, it looked like horns and ears. And I found that it looked almost like, when I looked at it, I thought it was like, it's not wood because it looks more like skin.
Yeah, it was, yeah. If it was wood or something, it had been deteriorating for a long time.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like a stump. You look real close, it's not a stump.
If they're telling the truth, and there's no reason to assume that they're not, then what they saw was huge.
And I was a bit skeptical, a little bit, because you got to have a little degree of skepticism. But when you go out to where they saw it, it's the middle of the lake. It's hundreds of feet deep. We saw like driftwood and stuff floating in the water, and it bobs up and down. And to hear them explain that it was just sitting under the water, looking at them, not moving, like, I'm convinced they got the most recent picture of Ogopogo or Nahatik, the spirit of the lake in its physical form.
And then when we got back to the shore and we got thinking about what it was that we saw, I was like, wow, I said a prayer about that. Like, give me something to distract me from being not in the mood to be on the boat. And all of a sudden I look at this picture and I'm like, that is how big God is. He produced it, she, whatever, produced the Ogopogo. It was amazing. The other thing is, though, because it was October, it was so late, there were no other boats out here. We were literally the only boat, I bet you could say, almost on the whole lake.
Maybe one or two.
Because it was so quiet, and maybe that's why we saw it. Maybe it was, it's more prone to be seen when there aren't speedboats going around and so many people on the lake that it gets scared and goes down low. Possibility.
Yep.
If there is such a thing as this Ogopogo, my bet is it eats fish. And if you realize October, guess what's happening in October? It's the last of the salmon run coming through here.
So I lived here back in the 70s. I graduated from school in Kelowna. And I remember a lot of my friends as we were at the beach, saying they had seen it or they had heard about it. But then I think it was in the 70s that concrete statue of the Ogopogo got put into the park downtown. And the first thing I thought of is what we saw looks very similar to that. So where did that image come from? Who created that? Somebody else that saw what it looked like? But as kids, we all talked about it. We were all, aware that there was some kind of a sea monster, or at least there was rumors of it. But it's just a known Okanagan thing. It's, you come here and that's what brings tourists here, is to hear about it or maybe see it. You never know.
Lake Okanagan is a glacial lake. It's extremely deep, with depths being more than 700 feet, even further, like 2,500 feet in some areas. And of course, it is rumored to house a lake monster.
The actuality is, a lot of people saw something out on that lake that's got 4 or 5 humps, 10 and 60 or 70 feet long.
So when settlers came, they saw something in the water and it spooked them.
Settlers believed it was like a lake demon, something to be feared, something ferocious.
It's a shapeshifter, it's a dimension walker. It will manifest itself and it'll have antlers much like a deer. That's its spiritual form.
I have zero theories on what this might be because it is too anomalous.
What is Ogopogo and what does it mean?
So it was October 15th, 2022. Yep. And then all of a sudden, we saw the thing in the water.
We got within about 12 feet of it and she took that picture. And we were just kept right on going because the speed we're going right now, this is our getaway speed.
Yeah.
If you saw something in the lake that you couldn't explain, would you call the media?